Welcome to Sports from the Couch.
I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
With your host, Mike Mercado.
Players cannot stand him. Coaches cannot stand him. Most importantly, the fans can't stand him.
Brought to you by Mercado Airwaves.
I'm gonna say it once, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen.
That is so bad, that is absolutely brutal.
Hello and welcome in, friends, to another edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day on this very special edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. As we get ready for the NBA Draft Lottery, we will be doing a live reaction here. You will be able to see this on Facebook and on YouTube at Mercado Airwaves Network. Also, the podcast version at Mercado Airwaves. Make sure you guys are following us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at MikeMedia, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and you can be interactive with the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. We have a Patreon. If you want to be a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And of course, check out the Teespring if you want to rock out some of the swag at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. So you can see it right here. Draft Lottery Day on this June 22nd, 2021 in the beautiful city of Chicago. And right here I have up is in the Mercado Airwaves studio. You guys can hear it right here. I will bring this up. We will be listening to the Draft Lottery. For all you who are listening, you guys can check it out right there. We won't be putting it on the screen. You guys will be seeing the live reaction, obviously, because of rules and copyrights. We want to make sure that we respect everything. With that, we want to make sure that it's safe. But like they were mentioning right here,
that was a condition of the Nikola
Bulls lose pick to Magic unless top four. So that is one of the big storylines here in Chicago. And yeah, if you're new, been living under a rock, haven't been paying attention to the Chicago Bulls, essentially with that big trade that they made around the trade deadline on trade deadline day, essentially what ended up happening is they gave up the draft pick to the Orlando Magic, but it was top four protected. So tonight, the Bulls have a 20% chance to land in the top four. If that is the case, the Bulls are going to Sizzler, my friends. It is going to be a very interesting opportunity for the Bulls. They have about a 4.5% chance of winning the lottery. Now, I guess the storyline heading into this beyond just the lottery balls is what are the Bulls going to do? And point guard is the biggest need for this team. So if you as a fan are wondering, what are they going to do? You got to put yourself in that position right now, how this team is assembled. Because now you have new information about Kobe White having a shoulder injury, and he's not going to be ready until possibly the beginning of the season. And you know you're not going to be able to afford guys like a Chris Paul or a Mike Conley Jr. or a Kyle Lowry. You would like to be in those conversations, but you know you're not going to be in the running really to get those guys who are going to get big, big money. Then you got to look at maybe the next tier. And there might be some interesting guys that you could maybe get, like Alonzo Ball, right? He's going to ask for a lot of money, but if you're looking for somebody who's going to be young enough to kind of go there with the Chicago Bulls in the score, a Spencer Dinwiddie, there's a few guys that would be interesting to see if they go to Chicago. Obviously, another name that you've heard is Derrick Rose. But it's the same kind of outline that you keep hearing. It's a point guard that's going to be able to take control of the court, facilitate the ball, and run the offense. Do they find that guy here in the draft? I don't know. There's going to be a lot of prospects. There's a lot of guys to keep an eye on. But it really comes down to what is going in the minds of AK and Mark Eversley. Because if they're evaluating this team, right, they put themselves in a position where everything is sped up. You know, we kind of look backwards. We know what they need with the point guard. We know what happened with Kobe White. But how did we get into that position is through that trade for Nikola Vucevic, which I think was worth the trade. But you put yourself in this position now in the front office where this is a team with a 26-year-old star in Zach LaVine who's going to want to get paid, is going to be due for that huge max contract. And then you bring in a 30-year-old center. So you've accelerated this thing. You got guys like Patrick Williams who people really like, and He's a 19-year-old. There's a lot of development that needs to happen for that team. For Patrick Williams when it comes to being on that team. So when you're assembling right now, what do you do if you're the Bulls? Do you hold on to that number 1 pick, that number 2 pick, that 3 or that 4? There's some interesting roads the Bulls could go down. And because of that chance, because of that trade, because of everything that they did in that moment with Orlando, they're now in a position where the clock is starting. They're going to have a big age discrepancy between some of these guys. It's going to be interesting to see how Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley handle this. What I want to do is I'm going to actually look up something right now, and I want to see what the mock drafts are looking at right now. And let's see who has a good... I want to see who we have right here as we're going through to kind of see Cade Cunningham from Houston, Evan Mobley. Who else do we got here? Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs. Just looking at some of the names that might be here. Oh, the Mitchell brother for New Orleans. So there's a few names that are coming around here. And if you're looking at just who they might be, and that's another thing that it's interesting that we're seeing this year. Who is this? Jalen Green. All right, so they have Jalen Green. He's a shooting guard. He played in the G League. That's going to be something that's really interesting now moving forward with the NBA, is seeing how guys, whether or not they go to college, whether or not they just go straight to the G League, whether or not they go to the Euro League. That's going to be really fascinating to see. This is new uncharted waters, and we've seen with the ruling with the Supreme Court that there's this NCAA bubble might be bursting, or at the very least, it's in a new position. It's in a dangerous position it's never been before. So right now, I'm actually looking at our screen here at Mercado Airwaves on Sports from the Couch. Thank you so much for making this a part of our day. It is a wonderful draft lottery. We are under 10 minutes away from the picks being revealed. We are watching this on ESPN here at the Mercado Airwaves studios. Sports from the Couch with Mike Mercado. Make sure you're following us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media. Instagram, Mike Mercado Media. Be interactive with the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Make sure you're subscribing to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. There you can see the video version of the podcast and everything we're doing on the network. If you want to just get the audio version, subscribe to us wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. And looking up right here, Jay Billis, top 5 prospects. Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State. Evan Mobley, a center from USC. Jalen Suggs, the guard from Gonzaga. Jalen Green, he was the cat we were talking about at the G League. And Davion Mitchell, the guard from Baylor, the younger brother of Donovan Mitchell, And it's going to be really fascinating to see how this all plays out for the NBA, with some studs coming in. A lot of guys are high. Let's hear what they said.
In this draft, at least potentially. And then Davion Mitchell from Baylor, national champion, the best individual defender in the draft, can get up underneath you, and he is explosive in transition, a much improved shooter that can knock down three-point shots. He may be small, but he's got a huge heart and can really play.
Small relative to other basketball players. I'm 5'4" over here, but sure, as luck would have it, 2 of those players you were talking about, Baylor's Davion Mitchell, USC's Evan Mobley, they will be joining us in the next segment. And last but certainly not least, Leon Newsom and Mark Dielli, they have brought the envelopes to the podium. So yes, it will be time to reveal the lottery order when we come back from this break.
So there we go. As you guys are watching this here on Mercado Airwaves, on youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network, on Facebook, facebook.com/Mercado Airwaves, or wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Guys, I know a lot of plugs, but I got to remind you, and we thank you so much for joining us. We are this close to getting the results. And of course, after this, as we are recording this, Game 2 of the Suns and Clippers. We can talk a little bit about that as we get ready. First of all, how amazing has Devin Booker been in this playoffs? I was actually on Sports Rewind 60 on WCPT 820 AM. It's a sports show here in the city of Chicago. And Jerry Riles, who's a very well-known sports reporter and journalist and a fixture when it comes to journalism, it's the show that he hosts. And I was lucky enough to be a guest host on it this past Father's Day weekend. And we were just talking about the NBA playoffs and just how impressive Devin Booker has played. Fascinating about the Clippers and Suns series is you have a series with two teams that a lot of people, specifically with the Clippers, had a lot of hype for. And a lot of ball heads, a lot of guys like us and gals who are watching this and who are watching the draft lottery, we saw at the end of the bubble last year how Phoenix and Booker were just dominating. I think they went 8-0 in the bubble. So we wanted to see how they were going to progress into the regular season and into the playoffs. And sure enough, wonderful, wonderful regular season. I think the second best record in the West, right? So Booker just balls out, and then you're at a point now, though, where Chris Paul, it looks like his time. This is the moment, and he's out again. And I've always been really hard on Chris Paul because I've always thought if we're going to put the moniker of best of his era, this or that, then we got to hold him to it. And it's never been something where he's not earning of his accolades or whatnot. But if we're going to be so harsh on LeBron and Wade and all these guys of that era, right? I felt we had to be the same with Chris Paul. And, you know, the effect of marketing does a lot to do with that when you're on the State Farm commercial and people, you know, don't want to give you a hard time. And when you played for New Orleans and all that. But damn it, if this guy didn't get there and didn't help Phoenix and didn't just nurture and help flourish what is the growth of Booker, right? At least to me, that's what I saw. And then for him not to be able to get that opportunity to be in the conference finals kind of sucks. Then you look at the other side with Kawhi. You know, you get this matchup where it's like Paul George is finally getting to the conference finals and he's helping a team and he's playing and he's helping carry this team and he's not going to have his backup. Or the main guy that started this whole thing for the Clippers. It's like, it's crazy that we got to this point. And for a lot of teams, you know, you look at the other side, what happened with Philadelphia. You know, that Ben Simmons stuff is crazy because we saw it happen in front of our eyes. There are plenty of times where a player, man or woman, just has a brain fart. Just forgets. It happens to us. You guys listen to me and you see it all the time, right? It looks like I'm having a stroke mid-sentence. It happens all the time. People just have brain farts. But to see what happened to Ben Simmons, you saw somebody just be broke down mentally, physically, speaking of it, right? Like, that's the crazy part of it. We saw it happen. And then you look at how it plays out, right? You have Milwaukee now going to the conference finals. You have Atlanta in the conference finals. Atlanta, who saw that coming, right? Philly loses. This opportunity for Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and Doc Rivers. And the moment of it, of having that type of path, there is no KD. There is no Steph. There is no LeBron. There is no Davis. No Luka. You just go on and on. No Dame. There's so many guys who are not going to be there in front of you, and you missed it. That's why I thought Milwaukee was coming out of the conference as soon as the playoffs started. In the beginning of the season, I picked Brooklyn and LA, and I was leaning that way for a long time. The caveat to everything, and it's not an out or double trying to be right all the time. I said whoever came out of the LA Phoenix series was going to win the NBA title. And I think it is setting up to be a very fun finals. Now, here's the crazy thing. Don't be surprised if LA wins tonight, which is this Tuesday, the 22nd of June, draft lottery day. Don't be too surprised. And don't be surprised if that series goes 7. Don't be surprised if Milwaukee steamrolls through Atlanta or Atlanta shocks the hell out of people and gets to the finals. Anything can happen with these 4 teams. That is what's so fun. The ratings might not be reflecting of that, but I promise you, these are going to be fun games. There's going to be intriguing storylines. New blood. These are superstars right now. And this is only going to keep going. And I'm not one that's ever going to discredit or count out LeBron James. But if you're looking for the new Thanos of the NBA, it's Kevin Durant. You got to get through Kevin Durant if you want to go to the finals. And I think that's what Milwaukee's going through. That's what Milwaukee did. Shout out to KD. Holy crap, that game. It's going to be, I wonder what's going to happen with Harden. if now that pressure is going to start heading to him, depending on what happens with Milwaukee, we know, that baton of NBA Finals, you got to win it, gets passed around. That's why it's going to be huge for guys like Giannis and Chris Paul this coming season. And we'll see who actually gets to the finals. But as we say that, thank you guys so much for joining us here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. We are doing a live reaction to the NBA Draft Lottery. Your Chicago Bulls, if you're here in the beautiful city of Chicago, have a 20% chance of ending in the top 4, which means they have an 80% chance of that not happening. If they do get to the top 4, that draft pick is protected. They will be making that selection. If it's anything other than pick 4, 3, 2, or 1, that will be going to the Orlando Magic, who, of course, was part of that trade for Nikola Vucevic, and we'll see how that plays out. The Bulls did not make the playoffs. Zach LaVine ended up being in the COVID protocols. Going to be a fascinating offseason for the Chicago Bulls. We talked about it in the beginning of this live stream of this reaction video. We're going to be seeing if they're going to go for that top-tier point guard, that second-tier point guard, that third-tier point guard, however you want to grade it out. Depending on how that shakes out, guys like Thaddeus Young, Daniel Tice, so on and so forth, will not be on the team. But if this is a team that you like their chances, why not? With that, let's get to Rachel Nichols and the crew at NBA on ESPN.
They each have a 14% chance, but there's still 11 other teams who could elbow their way in there. And just because their odds are lower doesn't mean a little magic can't happen. Remember, just 2 years ago, the Pelicans had a mere 6% chance of winning the lottery, yet they, in fact, walked away with the right to select Zion Williamson at number 1. So who'll walk away with the number 1 pick tonight? The folks you're seeing on your screen, sure hope it's them. Representatives from each of the 14 lottery teams joining us virtually this
Mark
year.
Eversley is covering
and
selecting for the Chicago Bulls.
Is about to say.
Here we go, guys.
The NBA's Deputy Commissioner and Chief Operating Officer, Mark Tatum.
Let's roll.
Thank you, Rachel. Good luck, everyone. Pick number 14 will be made by...
This is so dramatic.
The Golden State Warriors.
The Golden State Warriors.
One down.
All right, let's see what happens at pick 13.
The 13th pick belongs to...
Ooh, you feeling that, Chicago?
The Indiana Pacers.
And the Pacers at 13.
Picking 12th will be...
Let's see who's at 12.
The San
Antonio Spurs. Thank you guys for joining us here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves.
The 11th pick in the draft will go to the Charlotte
Hornets at 11.
All right, no surprises yet. Picks still going to form so far.
Pick number 10 will be made by...
Let's root for chaos, everybody. The Pelicans.
The New Orleans Pelicans.
Sweet Cash was mad.
The 9th pick goes to...
I don't want to see red. Sacramento Kings.
Sacramento Kings.
Feel that, Chicago? Let's see.
The 8th pick will be made by...
No horns, no horns. Your Orlando Magic.
Orlando Magic.
All right,
there it is.
Orlando coming out of that envelope means that Chicago has not jumped into the top 4. Therefore, that pick conveys to Orlando.
There we go, guys.
So,
unfortunately, the Chicago Bulls will not be in the top 4. We'll continue listening to that. We did not get the Justin Fields magic.
The Golden State Warriors.
Although the Magic's got some Justin Fields magic.
All right, that means that we have a jump. Toronto has jumped
and
into the top 4.
And the Raptors are in the top 4.
Have their 2 picks set in the draft order.
It's going to be interesting now to see what happens for the Chicago Bulls.
Goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
OKC at 6.
That means that Cleveland has jumped up. Cleveland jumping up into
Two
the
teams
top 4.
jumped, and neither one of them were the Bulls.
That pick there.
Unbelievable.
The 5th pick will be made by the Orlando Magic.
All right, the Magic with the number 5 pick. That means that the Raptors, we see Fred VanVleet. There have been a difficult season for them playing down in Tampa. They could use some good news. We'll see if they get the number 1 pick. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, all right, guys. So we will stay tuned for just a little bit longer to see how this actually plays out. But the Bulls are not going to be in the top 4, which means not good times. And I'm going to go on the Twitterverse and let us see how the reaction of the people are going. You guys can follow me on the Twitter at Mike and Media. And of course, the show is on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. So let's see. Yeah, Rob Schaefer, Bulls land number 8 in the NBA draft lottery, and their 2021 first round conveys to the Orlando Magic. Tony Gill, friend of the show. Tony Gill, crap. Here we go. Cody Westerland, Bulls land the number 8 pick in the NBA draft. A selection they immediately convey to the Orlando Magic as part of the Nikola Vucevic trade. They're in line to owe the Magic a first-rounder pick in 2023 as well. That is something that we haven't mentioned yet, so it's got to start working out for the Bulls sooner rather than later. Adam Amin, obviously the play-by-play man of your Chicago Bulls. Simply damn. What else do we got here? Daniel Greenberg, the Chicago Bulls 2021 first-round pick, goes to the Orlando Magic. Larry Howley, no lot of luck. The Bulls didn't move into the top 4, so their first-round pick, 8th overall, goes to the Magic as part of the Nikola Vucevic trade. Unless they trade in, no first-round picks for the Bulls this year. And, I think it's a bummer. It's a bummer because it didn't work out for the Bulls this particular season, and there's not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow when it comes to the draft. It's a bummer because there's a lot of things to like about this Bulls team, but they're still really far away. I know I get a little ahead of myself, and I get a little excited talking about this team, but at the end of the day, they still haven't made a playoffs. This regime, it's a brand new regime, but they made it a trade. They went for it. And it hasn't worked out all that well for them in the sense of a playoff payout or at least a high draft lottery pick. And you could get yourself upset. You could get yourself bummed out. But more than anything, it's the same effect we've talked about a lot of different teams in this city. It's like they haven't proved anything when it's time to really prove something. So for them to be in a position now where, they don't have a draft pick this year, they don't have a draft pick next year, and they don't have all the cash in the world. They got to make some financial moves. Their point guard that can't play point guard is hurt with a busted shoulder. There's a lot of questions for this team. And the big thing is they didn't make the playoffs when there was a play-in. They crumbled at the end of the season. So while there's a lot of things to be optimistic about this Bulls team, you can find reasons to be pessimistic for sure. And it doesn't help when you come out with absolutely nothing. You get nothing, sir. You lose. Good day. It's a bummer. And it definitely leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But that's how the cookie crumbles. So the Bulls will not be in this year's draft. And the Orlando Magic end up with 2 big picks. The Bulls end up with a lot of questions. And we'll see how it ends up playing out for the Chicago Bulls. I'm looking through again Twitter, and Joe Cowley is going to have himself a feast when it comes to this night. Mark Schanowski, no lottery luck this year. Arturis took a calculated risk in making the move for Vucevic trade. Now he'll have to use the trade and free agent markets to fill holes on the roster. Look for AK to be aggressive in pursuing a starting point guard. And it's what we've been saying this throughout the entire stream. It's going to come down to, now you got to make with what you got. And we want to see, now it's time, right? Like they made this big trade. They moved this roster around. Now it's time to see what they do when they don't have all the resources. There isn't these rose-colored tinted glasses, and you got to make a move. And you got to put yourself in a position. You got to be creative. That is where I think I have more optimism, though, about this front office, is I do think that they're going to be creative. And I do think that they're going to put themselves in better positions than the former staff did. And I think that's for Bulls fans, if you're looking for the silver lining, is you do know that they're going to try stuff and they're going to risk things and they're going to try to be smart about it. And if they think that it's worth doing, they're going to. So while it didn't work out for the Chicago Bulls today, we'll see how it works out long-term wise. And it makes for a very fun and a very interesting offseason. But sadly, no Magic today. We'll go ahead and, we will wrap this bad boy up in just a second. Let us see as they get ready for Game 2 of the NBA Western Conference Finals. But we jump on to the lottery, and it is the Rockets, the Pistons, the Cavaliers, and the Raptors all in the top 4.
Nervous folks wanting to know what's in those envelopes, Mark.
Thanks again, Rachel. The 4th pick in the 2021 NBA Draft presented by State Farm goes to
Detroit.
The Toronto
Okay.
Raptors.
So it's a top 3 picks in
3rd pick
Houston,
goes
Detroit,
to
and Cleveland.
The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Cavaliers at 2. Oh, man, the NBA about to make right
second
for
pick will be
the
made by
Rockets. Let's see.
The Houston Rockets.
The Rockets
And that
get the
means
second
that
pick.
The number 1 pick in the 2021 NBA Draft goes to the Detroit Pistons.
Here we go, guys. The Detroit Pistons get the number 1. Shout out to Ben Wallace. There it is, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of Sports from the Couch. Sadly, your Chicago Bulls did not end up in the lottery, did not get lucky, did not have the Magic this time. But I enjoyed it. If nothing else, we got to spend a couple minutes with each other, having some fun and getting our hopes up for a little bit. Look at Justin Fields is still our quarterback. Stay tuned here on Sports from the Couch as this offseason goes on for your Chicago Bulls for the NBA playoffs. A lot of news, a lot of stuff. We'll be all over it. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media. Follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Make sure you like, rate, review, and share us wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. And subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy all the games. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We will see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.